Okay, welcome back. Now we had two identities. This is our interview. I saved it with interview ID NB somewhere. And we have los in this document. I saved it in my working directory as los ID. So what we now want to do is that we want to, we don't need this. So now we want to ask los about our interview. So therefore we have this command, id text heat map of los id reading interview id. So we can have a display form is we say full. Okay, and we can have, to give you an idea of all the options, you can leave it, it's called word list 3. So this gives you a colored version of this map, which means your interview, those answers, in most cases, you see on this field here as time, want, beauty. Most of those brain, of corpus, of talks is not reflected. So this interview is very specific. So that's a clear characteristic. So if I say, for example, los should read los ornament and crime, you see this is a very small one, and there is more. And if we go for los in ins Leere gesprochen, you see it's a whole setup because it's the book. He knows, the only thing he knows. So we can also go for himself. So this is los reading himself. So we can go here with 5. Then we have it. We can, display form can be small. Then it's the same, but los reading los, and now we get the buzzwords here as a pop-up, and then the frequency with the number at the bottom. So if we want to see what is los answering to the interview, so go here for interview ID, we can leave that, this is default like that. Then we see it's working, and here, if we go here, then we can say MTP, no, it's an ID text selection of los ID. So because we selected this, is now showing the list of the paragraphs of this cell. So we also can, this is what los is reflecting or remembering to the interview most. So this is los on the interview. So we can keep that and continue. We also can go here and say, instead of taking this, we can say ID text zoom. So then we get, if this is, for example, 100, then we want to spread it into another song. So then we can zoom into it, and we go los ID and say we want to have a spread of 3. And this is a sum again, a trained sum. This needs a name, so zoom, or it's A1. A1 is this, and we want to show that, so ID text show is the same command like here. ID text show, then the result of this, and then we want to say word list. For example, 3 or 6, just to get used to it. Then we have a spread of this. We can select this. There are only 2. If now we are here, time, want, beauty, time, beauty, essay, pleasure, life, then we select this, and now this is A1. We ask for A1, and then we get these 2 selected. So, but nevertheless, this, you've seen the mechanics, nevertheless, it's a fact that it's just a certain aspect of Lowe's character addressed by the interview. Now we can do the same thing the other way around. So let's go here. Leave this as well as default. No, change it. Simply change it the other way around. And now the interview is reading Lowe's. So interview Lowe's E on Lowe's. Not on both books. But this is too small. Now let's go and say display form is full. And here we are. So and again, you see that there's a lot of aspects in the interview not affected with Lowe's. And we can go for example, Lowe's and ornament and crime. So then we are mostly here. We can select that and say ID text selection of interview ID, and we see this is part of the interview which is reflecting Lowe's. But there are a lot of parts of the interview which somehow don't reflect Lowe's. So there's a lot of misunderstanding. And this is what I'm under. So this is a characteristic of this interview. This is what I think is gets very explicit, that these texts got persona, and persona are talking around the corner. So they are circulating around themselves, and depending on how they're turning, whether they understand or not. So a text is not flat. You don't understand it or read it from the beginning to the end, and then you cover the whole thing and you understand the whole thing. A text is turning towards another text, and then they are talking. And therefore it's a kind of Copernican turn that things run around. It's not flat. So, and these probabilistic measuring tools and navigation tools, they make it very explicit that in this case the interview and Lowe's are not too much friend to each other. So let's go for a next step in the next tutorial, how to go into a more abstract setup of a text with Lowe's. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.